Are we live?
Yes, we are live now.
Okay, good evening, our viewers at home and descendants of Great Benin Empire across the world. My name is Joe Osemudiame Mauli Orupe, and joining me today in broadcast is our president, Mr. Dele Bello, and our secretary, Mr. Erwin, also will be joining us today as well. We'll be discussing a couple of things today as regards subjects we touched on yesterday, the history of the Gans, the Evers, and the conspiracy by some group to distort and revise our history. And we'll also be talking about some other things, during the course of our conversation as regards to things that affect our people all across the world. So, Mr. President, we are live.
Yes, we are live.
I would like you to take charge of our live broadcast today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, my name is Dele Bello, and I'm the president of the Benin Empire Advancement League. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Yes, today's topic, as our secretary said, before we continue, let our secretary also introduce himself so that we can go on. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Like our vice presidents have rightly introduced, this is the Benin Empire Advancement League. Myself, I'm privileged to be the secretary of the organization, as rightly said as well. My name is Erwin Joel Iyoha.
So, yes, let's continue. There's before we go to our main topic, there's a video that is going on in the internet that is really going high from one of our Edo Pekin, or two of our Edo Pekin. Let's put this way. One is Israel,
yes,
and the other one is Davido.
Yes.
And these people, they really make us proud. I was trying to show us the video, but it's not possible as of the moment because of a network problem. We need more of those people who can showcase the Edo culture and the Edo heritage to the world.
Yes.
Because before, nobody even knew that Obagatokbe is in existence, in the O2 arena. So Israel make us proud, and the Davido also make us proud. So our vice president said, there's a lot we have to discuss about today, especially the distortion of our history deliberately by some people. So I don't know if our vice president can say more about that, and then maybe later our secretary. So thank you, sir. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday we discussed the migration of several groups from the Benin Kingdom.
Yes.
Located in present-day Edo State and southwestern Nigeria. And we discussed how they migrated to various places, Ife, Lagos, the Benin Republic, formerly known as Dahomey, to Togo, Volta region, and some other groups settled in the greater Accra region in present-day Ghana. And there's been a lot of debates going on, even on social media, by various gangs, depending on which side one belongs to. There are the gangs who insist that they are Yorubas and they are descendants of blah blah blah, and there are another set of Gans who believe they actually are not Yorubas, but they came from Egypt and somehow stayed in Benin for a little while before they migrated to present-day Accra. Then there's another school of thought that says that they are from Benin actually, and went through Ife, and from Ife moved out, to their present location in Greater Accra. Now, what I actually just wanted us to look at is the possibility of all these claims. We talked about the sociocultural and spiritual similarities between the Benin people, who are worshippers of the Okun deity, and the Gan people, who still, live by that cultural and spiritual principles. Because you find out that in the greater Accra today, I think most of the traditional worshippers who are Gans actually belong to that sect, worshippers of the Okun deity. Now, there has been an argument over if the Olokun or the Okun deity was actually Benin and not Yoruba. And you see, yesterday we discussed this whole thing, and I made it clear that the Okun deity was actually imported from Benin Kingdom by the prince at that time, who went on self-exile, to Ife. And he settled in Ife. We know that he married an indigene an indigene from Ife, and we know that he taught them a lot of things. We also know that because of his great spiritual powers, metaphysics and all that, he had a large followership. We also know that he became to be seen as a spiritual leader,
yes,
in that enclave. And then so it was through him that the title or the position of Oni was bettered. And we also know that in history, the Oni is not a monarch, but rather a priest.
yes,
So and it goes on and on and on like that. And we also know that at the time when there was a vacuum and it needed to be filled in the palace in Benin, the Benin people reached out to him to come and take his rightful place, and he turned down the offer. But in his stead, his son went, to occupy the seat, albeit for a short while, because he couldn't play the politics of the palace.
yes.
And out of vexation, he abdicated the throne and found his way. We also know in history that somehow most of the kingdoms that actually became known today as kingdoms within the southwestern, the tribe that choose to identify themselves as Yorubas, were actually established by descendants of this same Oduduwa. And I think that's where the problem with the Yorubas, that's where they seem to have a problem with the Benins and the history, because the Yorubas do not want to believe that their throne, was established by descendants of Oduduwa, who happens to be the descendants of the sun gods of Benin. And yes, we understand why that has to be a problem for them, because you see, over time, there's been a concerted effort by the by the people, by the academicians in Yoruba land, to kind of distort the history of the Benin people. The reason why they want to distort this history is for the sake of supremacy. They have tried over the years to project themselves as the most versatile, the most brilliant, the most powerful. And having the history of the Benins coming to the front line would actually be a problem for them. And so, yes, we understand why it is quite challenging for a lot of them to see the history from our own perspective as the authentic history. After all, they were raised and brought up to believe that Oduduwa is from somewhere. Oduduwa had his ancestors from Yemen. There's another school of thought that says that Oduduwa's father or whatever is from Saudi Arabia. Yes. There's another school of thought that says somebody dropped from the sky, And my problem with my Yoruba brothers is they cannot differentiate what is historical and what is a myth. A myth is a myth. A myth is not history. History is based on facts, things that we can prove. Myth is based on beliefs, and belief may actually not be the truth. It might not be something you can prove. It's just what you choose to believe, and that's just how I see the whole thing. I know Mr. Secretary has a lot of things to say as regards the migration, that took place in the Benin Kingdom at that time, that gave birth to all sort of ethnic nationalities, all across West Africa. So let me give the floor to Mr. Secretary so that he can add, to this subject. Mr. Secretary, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. First and foremost, let me apologize for not being present yesterday, and I really had a long day. In fact, I had a long week, and I've not been able. I'm aware that two of our brothers are in the UK for a show. Yeah. I saw the updates on my phone yesterday on how to watch it live and all that, but I couldn't watch it due to time constraint and all that. So I didn't actually know how the whole show went, but with the little I've heard from Mr. President that they have done us proud, I think that is quite appreciated. As for the evidence of the existence and relevance of Benin in history, I'm not too surprised. Neither am I overwhelmed, because I see it as a normal thing that when you are on top, on a very good limelight, there are bound to be individuals or groups out of evidence that we always look for ways to relegate or extinct existence. Having said that, the Benin migration that has now formed a diverse group of so many socio-cultural groups across the globe happens at intervals. For example, the migration to the Upper Volta region, as it was then known, as at that time there was not a country known as Ghana. There was they were known at that time. The kingdom mostly known at that time was the Ashanti kingdom at that area. So the nation like Nigeria, Ghana, Togo were not in existence. What we had that was capable of forming the southern Nigeria at that time was the Benin Empire, which extended in the west to the Volta region, and in the east to Boni, and in the north up to the area referred to as Edo North and part of Kogi today. The fact remains that in a stretch under a stretched empire, we are bound to have a system whereby kings sometimes may have difficulty in controlling everybody. Hence, the king, the monarch would decide to choose people that will take or look after the affairs of his empire due to distance. The Upper Volta region that was founded by the Benin by extension of the empire actually occurred in the 16th century during the reign of Oba Orogboa at that time, who was the son of Oba Esigi. But the story of how Benin expanded the empire to the Volta region cannot be told without making reference to the founding of Lagos. And the founding of Lagos cannot also be told without making an extensive information known to people about the Volta region existence as being part of the Benin Empire. And one thing that people do not really understand that the Volta region, the Upper Volta that the Benin Empire stretched onto in the west, now form what we have today as part of Ghana, Togo, Benin Republic, and part of Guinea. So Equatorial Guinea. You see, we have a very large and vast empire. The fact remains that the evidence will be there. And due to what happened in the Benin punitive, the British Benin punitive that occurred in 1897, we know politically Benin might was reduced by the British and as such sought to be relegated, debased, and reduced in the manner that will not enable any influence to show up in the republic now known as Nigeria. But history has a very useful and powerful weapon of bringing people into remembrance and facts has actually helped the Benin to fast track and properly inform people of how vast and relevant the Benin is, will be, and will continually be. Because the nation Nigeria today cannot be discussed without the role of the Benin.
Yes.
Nigeria could not have been a country not colonized by British successfully if they had failed in their quest of invasion of Benin. Because there are so many things people have not really discussed when it comes to British invasion of Benin. They have failed to understand that Benin was very significant to the British.
Exactly.
That they needed to attack Benin. For example, the Benin Empire stretched in the south up to around, in particular, a part of it in the south, in Ishekiri, for example, at that time. It was also very powerful that we also have a king there that resisted the British. 3 years before, in 3 years or so, before Oba Vorame was taken to Calabar by the British. Nana of Shekiri, who also pulled a very strong hold, was first removed. We also have a king in Lagos that resisted them, was also removed before then. What that tells is that every king around the Benin Empire in various kingdoms that make up the Benin Empire were first dealt with before they came to the Oba himself. Even something more, there's something people don't know as well. There is a king in Asian land from Uromi. I think is the grandfather of the present Ojuromi. His name is Ogbidi. Even after Obavorame was taken to Calabar, Ogbidi still resisted in Asian land. He still resisted because the British knew that Asian land is part and parcel of Benin Empire. Ogbidi forced resistance after Ovorame was taken to Calabar. He forced resistance in order for the British not to penetrate the Asian land. He was arrested 3 times by the British. He was first taken to Ibadan, the one occasion. Another occasion, he was taken to Benin, to as the same way Ovorame was taken to Calabar. On 3 occasions like that. You see, so the fact remains that every king in Benin Empire resisted them. But the issue of the political and relevance matter that governs people have now been sidelined. Talk of migration. You said it right. Migration in Nigeria, one can attest to the fact that virtually almost every tribe in the southern Nigeria, and some in the east, some in the middle belts of Nigeria today, they trace their ancestry to Benin. What does that tell us one? It shows that Benin is like a root that gave room for several offspring to spring up. We today, members of the Benin Empire Advancement League and the Benin in general, are not agitating or trying to force people to us. We are simply out to tell the history as it is, and make people understand the relationship we have from time immemorial. We today in Benin Empire, this morning I was watching a documentary which I learned something very important from there. We in the Benin Empire of old, we have the Esan group, the Edo speaking people, Isoko, Shekiri, Urobo. We all have kings in each of those areas.
Exactly.
And we know all those areas up to the Volta region of today as Benin Empire. But that does not mean today, in our present day, the Edo speaking people can now move and say, oh, we founded Lagos, we have to take war to that place.
No.
And make sure they now accept to be Edos. I am saying this because in the documentary I watched, I was actually watching about the Russia and Ukraine history.
Yes.
But I discovered that Kiev, Ukraine has been, Kiev and Moscow, they are children, they are brothers, but they have never been one. They were of one empire for different tribes.
Yes.
Of such, and they are children of a particular king. They have good relationship, but they have become different nations.
Exactly.
And as such, no one have the local standing to ride on the other. But the history must be told
Yes.
that they are brothers. That is the position, the same position we have in Benin Empire. We know ourselves to be brothers.
Yes.
And none of us have the right to begin to impose, their will on others. We must have that respect for one another.
Yeah.
That is what the people of Benin descent, people of Benin origin that are now known to be of other tribe, either by way of falling into other countries, maybe places like Ghana, Togo, Benin, and those that are within Nigeria space that happen to have fallen into other states, like the Western states, the Eastern states, and the other Southern states of Nigeria, should recognize that we are brothers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We remain brothers. The same blood flows in our brain. Last time I talked about that the names we bear does not determine our origin.
Exactly.
We all have roots. It is our root, our family root, that determines where we actually comes from.
Yeah.
It's not where we live in that determine our root. In the Edo language, it is said that Ekinom Mama or Igyogbe. That is
Exactly.
wherever you find success in life that has become good for you to live in, become your base, becomes your home base, But that does not remove the fact that you have no root traced to somewhere. Benin has played a very key role in migration of several individuals that became nations, groups, tribes, and others in the Nigeria and Africa society today. But not until we understand that there are no difference amongst us, and to some other group, we should also accept the fact there's nothing to be shy of.
Yes.
Like you made mention of the Yoruba, relating it to a Kaladeran, no to Yoruba as Ododua. It is very unreasonable for anyone to believe in questionable minds, because there are some minds that are really questionable. One should really ask, how come this? For example, we cannot agree, nobody of a reasonable mind, whether it is my tribe or not, that someone fell from the sky and became such meat cannot be a substantive in any way. That is number one. Number two, if they would agree, it is on record according to the Yoruba tradition that a stranger will come and rule them. Now that stranger that came to them happens to be Izodua, a Kaladera known to them as Odudua. And it is also on record that the Ife they claim today came as a result of Izodua naming the place Ilefe, which has now been corrupted to Ileife. If you pronounce Ileife according to Benin, all you need to do is remove the I that gave you Ife. You have Ilefe in Benin.
Exactly.
So it was a mere corruption of a word. And apart from that, the Benin's lay claim with conviction and factual evidence that Oduduwa is their son, and our monarch of today is a direct descendant of Oduduwa. The Benin's have never in any way denied.
Never.
And we are happy to tell the story so that people will know that our prince, our roots, was strong, spread abroad, and extended to that area. And it happens to be the product, the source of every product of what is now known as Onide. It is very clear because they are not the one, the Yorubas are not the one that told us that our monarch is from there. We said it because we know we have the actual record. The question is, has any of the Yorubas actually come to reason to say, how can Oduduwa fall from the sky? That is number one. And two, how come that some of their kings are actually descendants of Benin? And those same descendants of Benin pay allegiance to the Oba of Benin. And they are claiming Oba is their son. You see, in 1981 or so, when Oba Erediawa visited the then Oni of Ife, the Oni of Ife, during his speech, welcomed Oba Erediawa to Ife by saying that he is welcome home to his forefather's school.
Yes.
You know, to his root and all that, things like that. That he's the father of the Oba of Benin. But to show maturity, Oba Erediawa said in his speech in return that if the Oni said is the father of the Oba, and the Oba of Benin said is the father of the Oni, they are both correct. Now, I would like to address that. They are both correct in the sense that that which left here returned back here. The offspring of a priesthood that left Benin to Ife later sent his own son. Due to the circumstances of life at that time, he could not in person return.
Yes.
Sent his son. So that seed was enough, and that was what the Benins were looking for, and they got it. That has not changed the fact that the Oduduwa is not a Benin prince. He remains and will always be. We are not grandstanding about it. We have on record, according to history, that Oduduwa, as our vice president have rightly said, left Benin with so many deities. And some of those deities and cults are what are being practiced in Yoruba land mostly today. Not until historians agree to the fact, a lot of people will remain in darkness. They will be deceived. But because of the fact that they try to play the role of supremacy, both in governance and others, that is why they seek to hide this history. we belong to a society and are born into a society where we understand and are taught our history in the form of stories and tales, even though some are not documented, but they remain very factual. Because the manner at which some of our history were documented happens to be via artifacts, productions, and all that. So when the British came to Benin, some of the things they actually took away was our history, because those artifacts they took were history themselves. Histories were embedded in many of those artifacts. Because to tell a story, there were artifacts that was produced just to tell a story. So whenever somebody asks, what does this artifact stand for? There are usually stories that are told after every artifact in Benin, whether molding, carving, whatever. It's just like cartoon of today. When people draw cartoon, they tell story along with it. That is how our artifacts were. These are all stories of historical facts. But we must also understand that migration did a lot of damages, and it has also done some kind of awareness for us.
Yes.
A lot of damages in the sense that a lot of our people migrated, ended up not speaking the language. Their descendants ended up not seeing themselves as Benin, moving far away to a distant land, also helped in making them feel different in a way. But it has been positive in a way also by way of bringing us more to the limelight, bringing the awareness how vast the Benin has been. If we are to put into consideration who are the actual majority in Nigeria, we will discover with the unity of all Benin descendants together, we discover that Nigeria, Benin origin put together, will make us the most populated group in Nigeria.
Yes. Before you continue, sir, I have a question from a viewer, which asks, is Yoruba a tribe or a language?
Okay, I will answer that. Yoruba is not a tribe. The term Yoruba is not a tribe. It is a language coined and put together. That name Yoruba became an identity to identify people speaking a similar language, but that are not same. The Yoruba language that is popularly spoken as a general, they have a general Yoruba language that they speak.
Okay.
That general Yoruba language is Oyo Yoruba, that they are speaking as general Yoruba, the Oyo. Even in that Oyo, they have dialects. Some of them never understood each other.
Yes.
Place like Ekiti, visually almost every local government speak different dialects. And so many local governments there can also trace their ancestry to Benin. Place like Ondo, The word Ondo and the people of Owo in particular, even the Osemawe, the king, can also attest that they are not Yoruba, even though they are, it's like a conglomerated group of people into one form. So Yoruba is not a tribe. The identity was created and given them. They were fast and quick to identify that these similar languages should be put together, and the name Yoruba was adopted. That is the fact. A true Yoruba man who knows this, we say it the way it is.
Yes.
Yorubas are different, just like the Igbo today. Igbo language that is generally spoken is that of Imo. Igbo still have dialect, and many of them do not even understand each other. Some can understand each other, but they cannot speak each other's language. So the one that is generally spoken is that of Imo. That is what they have as general, but that is how Yoruba is.
Okay, so Mr. Secretary, can I also add a little bit of to what you have said so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so actually, if you look at the history of the people that are presently identified as Yorubas, we had two set of people. In the time past, the only set of people that were addressed as Yorubas were the people from Oyo. And how did they come about the name Yoruba? It's actually a word from the north that actually means Yarabawa,
Okay.
the deceitful people, or the cunning people. When there was trade between the people of the old Oyo Empire and the Northerners, you understand, the Northerners would always address the old Oyo Empire people as Yarabawa, as cunning people. Now, there is another set of people, the Oshuns, actually, and all these people are actually called Anagos. That's their real identity. They are actually called Anagos. If you look at the Southwest newspaper at that time called Iwe Iroyin. Iwe Iroyin always, when you look at it, it has a sub-theme. It says Iwe Iroyin fún àwọn ọmọ Ẹ̀gbá àti Yorùbá. What they sought to do at that time was to make a distinction that this newspaper is for the Ẹ̀gbás and the Yorubas. You understand? Because the newspaper was basically an Egba newspaper. So the Egbas at that time realized or wanted to make it clear that our identity as Egba people cannot be said to be Yoruba.
Yoruba, yes.
Now, what the action group did, was to bring all these ethnic nationalities together. The Egbas, the Aworis, the Jebus, and all whatnot, bring all of them together under one umbrella with a single identity. It was actually political.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It was political, and they adopted the name Yoruba. You understand? Because if you look at it historically, if you are going to be talking about any kingdom from the Southwest that is known historically, it is no other kingdom than the old Oyo Empire.
Yes.
Oyo Empire is a kingdom.
Sorry, the old Oyo kingdom, not an empire actually,
Okay.
just a kingdom. And we know in history too that there was a time the Fulanis invaded Oyo.
Oh, yeah.
And they moved from their first settlement to another settlement, and they were attacked again, and the Benin Kingdom had to intervene, to help them out. We know that the Benin Kingdom always had trade treaties with the Oyos. you know, because at that time, the Oyo kingdom was the only formidable kingdom, you know, that can be said to be today's southwestern Nigeria called Yorubas.
Yes.
If you come
Exactly.
to Ghana, for instance, you would see that there is a distinction. Even the Ghanaians address Yorubas as Anagos.
Okay.
You
Yeah, the
understand?
York were also extended their trade to the.
Well, the reason why they address them as Anagos was because the Ogbomoshos were the first set of Yorubas who established settlements in current day Ghana,
Yeah.
and they addressed themselves as Anagos.
Okay, yes, I heard of it.
So that's why the Ghanaians today still address Yorubas as Anagos. They don't address them as Yoruba. Yoruba is a modern term
Yeah,
that has existed for not less than 60, 70 years.
yeah.
It's and that's just how it is. It's just like most of the traditional rulers in Yoruba land today calling themselves Oba. Before
Yeah.
1947, the Yoruba
Can I-
ruler called Oba. We
Yeah.
had the Alaafin of Oyo, we have the Alake of Egba, we have the Onikoyi of Ikoyi. You know, we have all these names.
Yes.
You understand? But today, they will say, I am the Alake of Egba land, Oba Lamidi, one thing, one thing. You understand? I am the Alaafin of Oyo, Oba this, that, you know. When you look at I think it was 1947, if I'm not mistaken, traditional rulers conference, something
It was in the 50s.
in the 50s, okay.
It was in the 50s.
Traditional, yeah, the rulers and traditional rulers conference in Nigeria at that time. If you look at the attendance sheets, there was only one monarch that was addressed as the Oba, and it was the Oba of Benin.
Yeah.
It's there, it's clear, everything is there, you know, but because there is a calculated attempt to distort history, the
Yes.
history of the Benin people. And you see, some of these things, unconsciously or consciously, we brought it upon ourselves because certain individuals actually became so greedy. I'll give you an example. We know in history that certain sons of the Benin Empire aided the British,
Yes.
you know, in gaining access into the hinterland.
Let me quickly chip you something as you were saying just now.
Yeah.
The traditional rulers conference that we were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, the very first conference, it was held on 2 occasions.
Okay.
That time. The very first one was in 1937.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the southern province.
Yes. Okay.
Because you said something that the bringing together of the Yorubas were political. Yes, it was. It was because Awolowo actually founded out.
Yes.
When he founded Omo Egbe Omo Yoruba.
Yes.
It was that group that metamorphosed into Action Group, the first political party in the southern province of Nigeria.
Yes.
So it was really, political. Like in the 1937 first conference of the traditional rulers that was held, you rightly said the Oba of Benin was the only person that appeared as Oba at that time. The rest was known as it, and that time the meeting was held in Oyo, not in Ife. While the second one, it was agreed on that meeting that the next meeting should be held in Benin.
Yeah.
Do you know that on that meeting that was even held in Benin? Are you with me? I
Yes.
can't.
Yeah, we are with you, sir. Go on, sir.
That meeting that was held in Benin, they tried to force Yoruba language on everybody in that meeting. All these things we are saying now, these are some of the things that metamorphosed into the quest for Midwestern region.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
These are some of the things that our Oba and other kings in the southern part of Nigeria saw. For example, there was a meeting that was held, a meeting of political and traditional leaders. The Oba of Benin was there. The some of other kings, I think Beal of Agbo and so many other kings and politicians were there. Awolowo himself was there.
Yeah, Nahoro.
Yeah, then Alake of Egba, the then Oni of Ife was there. That was the meeting that actually provoked the Oba to start touring every town, cities, and villages in Benin.
Yeah.
At that time. That a part of the Midwest that was later known as Bende State. What happened at that meeting was that immediately the meeting was declared open. The Alake of Egba rose up to speak and said, "On my right, the Oni is here. On my left, the leader of our government, which is Awolowo, is seated. The voice of the West is complete." That was the statement. He said, with these three people who happens to be Yoruba, the voice of the West is complete. So now, other kings from the South region left there angrily, began to question. That means our opinions or whatever we have to say here will not count. Whatever they say will now be whatever decision that must be taken here. Immediately they left. That was how Oba Akenzwa started touring and moving around for the need for the creation of Midwest.
Yes.
So many things actually led to that. That is why when some people talk about creation of states, doing this, leaving Nigeria and all that, they don't know that there are diplomatic manners that one have to put into force.
Yes.
The will must be there, and you must have people of intellectual ability and readiness to pursue the cause. That was what we did, and it paid off to have the referendum, which today, with that referendum certificate, if any country have the rights to agitate for a separate nation, it is the Midwest.
Yes.
Exactly.
That certificate still counts because we had it and we got it. It still counts. So the day we decide to say we are leaving and we tender that, we follow it politically and diplomatically, nothing can stop us from having our Midwestern Nigeria states.
No, none.
Even without going to war with anybody, we will get it.
Yes.
It's a matter of knowing how to play your diplomatic, politics. That is what I have to say for now, sir. You can continue, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Secretary.
So, Mr. President, you have something to say, or you want me to just add one or two things?
You can add one or two things, but I still have a question.
Okay, please, you could ask, sir.
Okay. I don't know if it's a real question because people are asking. There was a time in the party in Lagos where the Oni of Ife also visited that party. And the Oba of Lagos refused to stand for the Oni of Ife or even to greet him. What do you think led to that situation?
Okay, it was basically simple. I think the Oba of Lagos is a good student of history, and he knows that the Oni prominence is as a result of a political creation.
Okay.
You know, if you look at the issue of Bode Thomas,
Yeah.
Awolowo, and the Alaafin of Oyo at that time, you know, the Alaafin of Oyo was a member of the Akintola's group,
Yes.
or he threw his weight behind the Akintola group. It didn't go well with the
Awolowo
action group, you know. And so Awolowo at that time, history has it that the Alaafin of Oyo was dethroned and exiled.
Yes.
You know, and because they knew that there had to be a marriage between the socio-cultural life and the political life of the people, they had to create, you know, this whole impression.
Yes.
And made elevated the Oni of Ife. You know, so today the Oni of Ife is seen as the most prominent Yoruba traditional ruler,
Yes.
but he actually isn't. And so when the Oni of Ife stepped in that day, because it created an uproar, but you see, because people deal with issues based on emotions, not based on the right reasoning, you know, we have misconceptions and all sorts of things are thrown around on social media. There is no way the Oba of Lagos would stand up for the Oni of Ife. If you are talking of hierarchy, the Oni of Ife is not, the Oba of Lagos is not a subject to the Oni of Ife. It should be actually the other way around, because the Oni is not a king, he's not a monarch, he's a priest.
It's a priest, yes.
You understand? And the Oba of Lagos is a descendant. That throne, the throne, it's actually the Eleko of Eko.
Yes.
You understand? That's because when we talk about Lagos, I always want to try to differentiate. We had the Lagos Island.
Yes.
and the mainland.
Present day, Iga Idugoron is the seat of power. The throne that was established there by the Benin king is still what is there today.
Exactly.
You understand? And the Oba of Lagos, that family are descendants of the Benin kingdom. You understand? And people do not even really want to ask certain questions. Why did the Oba of Lagos do that? The Oba of Lagos cannot stand up for the Oni of Ife. Because in terms of hierarchy, they are not the same.
No, not at all.
The Oni of Ife is what he's doing is political. What the Oba of Lagos represents is history and culture.
Yes.
Married together. What the Oni of Ife represents is basically politics and culture. And they are two different things. But you see, mischiefs, people who just want to be blinded by tribal bigotry, are the ones who always want to project these things. And the Oni of Ife himself, I've always said it, he knows the truth, but he does not have the testicular fortitude to speak the truth.
Yes.
Because if he does speak the truth, it will demystify that persona, that image they are trying to project. It demystifies it. Because if you look at when the Gans came to visit, a lot of the things he said were half-truths.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
You understand?
Laugh about that.
It just shows that he's either a bad student of history, or he just chooses to distort the truth.
Yes.
That is the truth. That is what it is. You understand? And it's been going on.
Yes.
Awolowo created all this. The problems you have in Ishekiri land today was a creation of Awolowo.
Yes, I believe the Shekiris are coming to their senses.
What we have in Ondo State today was a creation of Awolowo and Olufalaye.
Yes.
Because when Olufalaye was Secretary of Federal Government, he carved out some part of Benin and added it to Ondo State.
Ondo State, yes.
Because of the oil wells and the mineral resources. We know all these things. And you see, these things could happen because we choose not to always talk. We just choose to keep quiet and,
keep quiet,
let's live with our people. If the Benins had taken a position with Oba Akezwa at that time,
yes,
a lot of the things happening today will not happen. Because if Oba Akezwa and our ancestor Pa and Enahoro had not taken some steps and some actions, we would probably have been extinct today. The reason why we still have some level of respect today is because of the actions of these ancestors.
Yes.
In person of Oba Akezwa and Pa Enahoro and some other personalities.
Yes, like Oba Heredia also.
Who stood to fight for our people. But today we don't even care. We don't even want to be Benin. We want to be something else.
Sorry.
And it's as a result of the calculated policies of the Southwest through the media, because the media is the greatest weapon the Southwest has ever had. Yes. Nothing more than that. It's the greatest weapon, the media. And I until today, the Action Group never forgive Oba Akezwa for pulling the Midwest out of the Southwestern region, which for me was one of the best things that ever happened to us.
It was. Can I say something that people do not really know? You see, the Midwest referendum was never supported by Awolowo and the Action Group.
Yeah.
Before we could have that referendum, the Action Group members in Edo, he said that this issue culminated into serious crisis.
Yes.
That led to the formation of a traditional cult group that is known as Owegbe. Group.
Yeah.
You see, when you see, people don't understand that what we are facing in Nigeria today is all political.
Yeah.
Tied to tradition and religion, whatever, they are all political. The politicians today of yesterday has always been the problem. You see, when this whole issue started, Ugboni fraternity were not introduced properly into Action Group. They became in control of the politics in the southern region. They became in control of the government. If you were not a member of an Ugboni or Action Group, your voice will not be heard. Even some of our Benin leaders at that time, people like Enaroro, they actually supported the referendum when they actually had no choice. The referendum might have been very, very difficult to have if Awolowo were not in prison. Because Awolowo at that time was actually the problem of that referendum. He never wanted it to take place because he enjoyed so much in gaining from the southern part. Yeah. I needed this part to control his government in the West.
Yes.
As such, he never wanted the separation. And the corruption that we see today started during Awolowo.
Yes, exactly.
And I will give you a proof. There is something that we have to look for, that you have to, that concerns inflation of projects and all that. I may not be able to be quick to find
Yeah.
it. See,
We can do this in our next, because we are going to continue with this broadcast time after time.
okay. Let me quickly say that you see this whole problem. As at that time, when Owegbe and the Ugboni fought in Benin, the Owegbe group happens to be some of the action group members that went and formed a political party after initially forming the Benin Brothers Club, which metamorphosed into the political party as well. You see, the Ugboni fraternity and all of these were brought in to control the political space of the southern politics,
Yes.
which was spearheaded by Awolowo. And as a result, the man we know today as Ute Tenegiabi
Yes.
happens to be a very powerful man, at that time. We would accept and agree that Ugboni at that time heard the music.
Yes.
There were serious crises even before the referendum could take place. At the time, they had no option when they saw that a lot of progress has been made, and the then head of state had moved, to approve it according to law. Awolowo had no choice. He now wrote a letter from the prison, a letter of support. But that letter was as useless, dead as dodo, as
Yes.
they will say, because the letter make no sense to us.
Yes.
He cannot write from the prison after seeing that what all he stood against has back coming to reality. The letter was deceptive. You see, so we know all of this. All of the, like the issue of Oba of Lagos, you rightly said, Oba of Lagos have never gone far from telling the truth. They have always stick to it.
Yes.
So we know politics has been the problem. I can't imagine people who knows history actually making or referring to a chief priest as number one first-class king, not in the South, when in history that title has never been a king.
Yes.
No.
It is, and you talked about Bode Thomas.
Yeah.
I want to say something. You see, you made it clear. The king of Oyo then, Alaafin of Oyo, were not actually in good terms with Awolowo. Yes. And Bode Thomas happens to be the right-hand man of Awolowo. What
Yes.
happened there was that they actually had an election to choose who was to be the leader of the Yoruba politically. And Alaafin of Oyo happens to be the leader. But when he contested against Bode Thomas, who was a young lawyer at that time, Bode Thomas was supported, backed by Awolowo. Eventually, Bode Thomas won. In the meeting they attended, Bode Thomas, as now the leader of the political group, whatever, was seated, entered. They gave him a standing ovation. a young man, and at that time, the Alaafin of Oyo was in his 80s, while Bode Thomas was still in his early 40s or so.
Yes.
30s, late 30s.
Yeah, late 30s.
Late 30s, early 40s.
Yes. Bode Thomas said to Alaafin of Oyo, let's remove the fact that Alaafin of Oyo now is not the leader, Bode Thomas is the leader, fine. Alaafin of Oyo is a king. Apart from being a king, an old man in his 80s. Bode Thomas had the guts to question him and said, every other people stood and gave me a standing ovation as the leader. Why didn't you stand up? That was what he said to Alaafin of Oyo. And now in anger, Alaafin of Oyo could not tolerate that. And he pointed at him and said, is it me you are barking at as like a dog? Or you keep barking like a dog? So it is said that on that very evening, Bode Thomas got home and started barking like a dog all through the night. Before he could be rushed to the hospital, he died. That was why Awolowo now said, oh, Alaafin has killed Bode Thomas. You've killed my right-hand man. He used his political power in the West to depose and remove Alaafin of Oyo as a monarch. The facts are there.
Yes. We know
The
that.
facts are there. So that is to show how some of the politicians have actually destroyed our monarchical system in some of our
institutions. In short, it's actually a deliberate, and it is a problem that I have always had. For instance, the British came, they took power from the traditional rulers. When they were leaving, why didn't they just hand over power back to the traditional rulers? It was because they knew that handing over power back to the traditional rulers would be pretty difficult for them to continue their agenda, which is neocolonialism.
Yes.
And so they created a political system that would benefit them, a political system that they would have power to interfere. Because, for instance, if we had the Oba of Benin presently as head of government in our own geographical setting, it will mean that the British would probably have maybe 10 to 20 prime ministers before the Oba of Benin joins his ancestors.
Yes.
And it will be pretty difficult for them, to change our system or impede our progress. And so they created a political system. This 4 years is 4 years thing. So if 4 years you come in as a politician and you do anything against their will, all they just need to do is put some monies around, incite other politicians, use the media to brainwash the people, push an agenda, and they kick you out. They put their puppets.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on.
The system that they have used in Nigeria, it's a system they used in the 50s. It's a system they used in the 60s, and it's a system that is still being in use today.
Yes.
Because it is the British are the highest beneficiary of the distortion of the Benin history today. The British is the highest beneficiary of the, how do I put it? The dissecting of our geographical space.
Yes.
Today, it is the British.
Exactly.
The British, the highest beneficiary of the decline of the Benin culture and tradition today. The British is the highest beneficiary. That is just the truth. And it's so disheartening that the Benins themselves do not want to be emancipated.
Yes.
They do not want to be educated. They do not want to, because when you hear somebody saying on social media that, hey, you people are still holding on to this monarchy, you don't want to be civilized. Meanwhile, you as a Benin man that is saying this thing, you forget that the British still hold on to the monarchy.
Yes.
Exactly.
Why are they not? Why is the British? Why are they not saying, okay, we are civilized, we want to do away with the monarchical system?
Okay, now
It's still there.
Yeah.
You know,
Do
and
you know that?
they have
you know
so they
that
have
the
so they
British-
have so created a system. They have so created a system that has empowered non-entities who are politicians today, and they have created laws, you know, that have weakened our traditional institution.
Yes.
The only time the traditional institute is respected is when the politician wants power.
Exactly.
Just like we saw Tinubu running down everywhere he's running. This is a man who doesn't even respect traditional institutions.
Dele Mamadou.
You understand?
Also.
We see Dele Momodu and the rest of them. These people don't respect traditional institutions. They only come to you when they want to get power. If the traditional institutions are that useless, why are they going there? You see, and that is why I want Africans, especially Benin's, to use their head. If our traditional institutions are that powerless, are that useless, why do politicians run to them when they seek power?
Yes.
It shows that they understand that there is a connection between our traditional institutions and the people. Because the traditional institution is the perfect representation of the people. They are the custodians, our kings are the custodians of our cultures and our tradition, not the politician. Our Beninness today is ingrained in the throne.
Yes.
Our Beninness today is enshrined in our constitution as Benin people. And that is why you see today an average Benin man respects the Oba of Benin than the president.
Yes.
That's the reality. Because still today, we still do not accept the arrangements in that political system. We do not accept it because that arrangement seeks to undermine, you know, the throne. And it goes on in our educational system. The same thing. You see, they use the media, they use what I call authorized education to rewrite history, to distort history, to expand their area of influence. That is what the Southwest has always done. That is what Awolowo has done. That is what men like late Bishop Ajayi Crowther did.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so we should, in fact, Mr. Secretary, the reason why I want to say this for our viewers that are listening right now and are watching us. One of the reasons why the Egbe Omo Odua, Egbe Omo Yoruba was created at that time was as a result of the action of Nnamdi Azikiwe at that time.
Yes.
To hand the action of late Herbert Macaulay at that time to hand over his platform to Nnamdi Azikiwe. The Yorubas did not see the reason why their son, Herbert Macaulay, could give the most vibrant political platform, hand it over to an Igbo man. To them, it was an abomination.
Yeah.
And they had to create another platform. And that is why you notice that in the 50s down to the 60s, everything about that was spewed out on all political platforms was pure tribal bigotry.
Yes.
They run the political system based on tribalism. From the south to the north and to the west, everything was about tribalism.
You see, there is a word that is often credited to late Samadu Bello. I also watched the video where he said it. He said that in the northern Nigeria will not employ any southerner or Igbo man.
Yeah.
If there are job vacancies in the north, they will employ a foreigner on contract to take the job.
Yeah.
In the absence of not finding any foreigner for the job, they may employ a southerner also on contract.
Contract basis.
Now, this statement is credited to Ahmadu Bello, not just credited to him. I watched it. I watched the video as well.
Yes.
This goes to show the high level of tribalism that was employed into our politics. Now,
Yeah,
guess what? Guess what? The Azikiwe issue you talked about. We know that Abat Macaulay is the grandson of what they call it, Bishop Ajayi Crowther.
Yeah.
Now, when Abat Macaulay died, automatically the leadership of the NCNC moved to Nnamdi Azikiwe.
Yes.
And Nnamdi Azikiwe also heard in one of his speech, the moment he was made the leader of NCNC, he said in his word, and I will quote it, he said, "It is clear that God has given the leadership of the African people to the Igbo."
Sorry to laugh.
That was Nnamdi Azikiwe's comment, which also proved tribal sentiment.
Yes.
At that time, the NCNC members was actually, most of them were Igbos at that time. Most of them were Igbo. But if you forgot that a Yoruba man, Abat Macaulay, was the leader before him. So in his own place, he never saw it as a political platform for everybody. He saw it as a political platform for the Igbos. This problem of tribalism has been on in Nigeria politics. That is why today you see in a particular region will be dominated by a particular political party, which is not supposed to be. It is like we have in a region, we say this state is for so and so. This is not supposed to be. Politically, it's supposed to be an individual ideology.
Yes.
Not a collective and tribal ideology. The tribal sentiment ideology and perspective that has been employed into our politics was founded by the people we call, the so-called people we call founding fathers.
Exactly. They were not nationalists.
Now, they are not. We don't. Now, okay, now, can someone actually tell us how rich was Awolowo? What did he do? Because if you look at his glass house in Ikeja, that glass house by that bridge,
Yes.
Ikeja roundabout, if you look at that glass house today, I can still tell you most senators of today cannot build that house.
No.
With corruption.
Oh, well, you know that time as the premier of the Western region, his wife was, she had the right for the distribution of Coca-Cola.
Yes.
And when he wanted to contest as a prime minister, during the elections, he had to step down as premier of Western region.
Okay.
And Akintola was elected or selected to succeed, to occupy that post. After he lost at the national level, he wanted to come back to take his post as a premier of Western region. And that was where problems started. Now, as Akintola was the premier of Western region, his wife also wanted to now be, by virtue of the position of her husband, the sole distributor of Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
That was what created one of the major problems in the Southwest at that time. Then when the whole issue was going on, the federal government had to send, what's his name again? Is it Showe Mimo? If I could get that right. I think it's Showe Mimo, to be an arbiter between both parties. And that was where Pepsi Cola was now introduced to pacify the wife of Akintola. So there was a lot of pettiness going on in the Southwest. These people didn't fight because they wanted the good of the people. They fought because they were looting, they were stealing. Today we have the Shonibares in Maryland and several other, and I was hearing then, I think Shonibare was a tailor at that time, I might be wrong, but I think one of the people in the action group at that time was a tailor, maybe Shonibare or so. And a lot of people who were allies of Awolowo, They enriched themselves.
Yes.
They took cocoa from Ondo State to develop Lagos and Ogun State. They took rubber from Edo State, then Bendel,
Yes.
to do all sorts of things. They had no real mineral resources in Ogun State. And in fact, there was a calculated attempt by the Ogun bloc, political bloc, to dominate the politics of the Southwest. Until today, it is still there.
Yes.
You have Awolowo, you have Obasanjo, you
it was
have...
then, can I quickly say
Osinbajo.
something? It was then the politics of the Western region.
It was the politics of the Western region. But within the Western region itself, we had a bloc.
Yeah, the Western bloc.
Yes, and the Ogun State bloc.
Yeah.
Mainly the Egbas.
Yes.
Exactly.
You understand? And a little bit of the Jebus, all from Ogun State. And that is why you notice today, if you look at all the people who have held positions in the federal level, president or vice president, check it out. They are from Ogun State.
Yes.
Obasanjo is Ogun State. Dia is Ogun State. Oshibajo is Ogun State. MKO Abiola himself is from Ogun State. Awolowo himself is from Ikene.
Yeah, and do you know that Osinbajo's daughter is the grandson of Obafemi Awolowo, granddaughter
Yes,
of Obafemi Awolowo.
Because Oshibajo himself is an in-law.
Yeah.
So it's all these things. It's a system these people have built in place, and it reflects in everything they do today.
Yes.
So when the Yoruba man comes to say that Eves or Gans, for instance, are Yorubas, the Gan ever man himself should begin to question them.
Yes.
What is their motive? Because the truth is that history has proven that these people cannot be trusted.
Yes.
That they were the right-hand men for the British.
Yes.
They helped the British to write all the nonsense they wrote. Right from the days of Archbishop Bishop Ajayi Crowther, he was the one that was used by the British. Apart from translating the Bible, to an indigenous language, there were a lot of articles he wrote. Some of them very misleading.
Yes.
And he set that foundation, where people had to use the pen as power to rewrite people's history.
Yes.
To demean people, to whitewash, to launder the image of a particular tribe. And it happens till today. You see the media, the Southwest media.
Yes.
It happens till today. They penetrated the educational sector. They began to write the textbooks. They began to write the history textbooks. You understand? And they began to misinform the people. Because at that time, in the Southwest, the British saw them as an ally.
Yes.
Even though the British didn't trust them. But the British saw them as an ally. Because the British saw that, okay, these were the set of people that could, help us, maintain the status quo. And they learned the British system. And they keep using that British system to today. That is why you can have a so-called elevated traditional ruler.
Yeah.
Yes, that the Gans are from Ife. And he's actually saying that their settlements today are in Ife. As I speak to you, there is a place in Volta region called Ketu. There is a place in Lagos called Ketu.
Yes.
We know Ketu is not a Yoruba word.
No.
It is not. It's a Bini word. We know all these things. And so if there's a settlement in Ife today called Ketu, it can't be a Yoruba word.
No.
It cannot be. And that is where the problem is, because we as our people, we have allowed this thing to go on for long. If you go to my hometown, the Volta region, we have a place called Anagokoji. It is not called Yoruba Koji, it's called Anagokoji. Because at that time, the people, the first set of people from the Southwest that our people came in contact with were the people from Ogbomoso who, were identified as Anagos.
Yeah.
And their culture is totally distinct from the culture of an Eweman. The name has no similarity.
Yes.
But yet, because these people came, and there was the need for, Awolowo to project himself as a Pan-Africanist, just like Azikiwe projected himself as a Pan-Africanist too.
Yeah.
These people began to rewrite histories, began to misinform the people, began to tell them all sorts of things because they needed to elevate the Ife kingdom, which was not even a kingdom anyway. And so they used the cultural and traditional angle to penetrate the Ewes, to tell the Ewes that they are from Ife. Meanwhile, when an Ewe man speaks, an Isa man could relate with him.
Yes.
But when an Ewe man speaks, a Yoruba man can't relate with him.
No.
When you look at the dress code of the Ewes, it's purely Esan. Purely Esan. The kente that the Ghanaians wear today is a creation of the Ewes.
Yes.
And if you look at the Asian traditional attire, the kente is similar to the Asian traditional attire. It has nothing to do with a Yoruba dress mode. You understand? But because these people held the position of authority, they had the influence in education, they had the money to push through, they had the media, they used all those tools, to launder themselves, to change history, to distort history. And that is why right now, I love what the guys are doing. You understand? Although they don't have a lot of the information within their reach. But the fact that a group of them are coming out to say, no, we are not from Ife. We transited through Ife. And
yes.
Those that transited through Ife was just a group that went astray, but later joined us and we moved forward. We know that we are from Benin. Even Bonny, that everybody talks about today, we know that the Essence had a military post in Bonny.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, ancient Benin kingdom, the Ijos were more or less the sailors. They were in charge of our navy.
Yeah, exactly.
The Oba of Benin allowed them, to ferry our troops and all that. That is why they had settlements in Benin today, where they are also claiming that is Ogbejo. You understand? You see, these people just want to be mischievous because the nature of an average Benin man is to be hospitable.
Yes.
We are extremely accommodating.
Yeah. You see,
it's a disadvantage.
The British did a lot of damages to us. I will have to chip in this because, number one, they destroyed our traditional institutions and kept theirs. As we speak to date, Australia is still not a republic.
No.
Australia is still under the British Empire.
Yeah.
The Queen of England is the monarch of Australia. The Prime Minister of Australia is still subservient to the Queen of England.
Yeah.
And as such, Australia still sees themselves as part of the British Empire.
Exactly.
Now,
and there are other countries all around the world who are still part of the British Empire.
Yes.
So if the British Empire, who is in England, miles away from Australia, still has the Australia under it, why do people think that it's unfathomable that the Benin Kingdom, who is in Nigeria, cannot say that the Evers or the Gans are their children?
No, that is hypocrisy,
That's the double standardness.
In terms of quality.
History, let us even look at it traditionally, spiritually, socioculturally. The Gans, the Evers, are more Benin than Yoruba.
Yeah.
everything about their tradition and culture. And like I was saying, I said this yesterday, Mr. President,
Yes.
for the sake of our viewers listening, I still attended the Obeneshimo Festival last year. You could remember.
Yes.
When we had some of our brothers from Nigeria.
Exactly.
We still attended the Obeneshimo Festival. Why was it not called Anagoshimo? Why was it not called Yorubashimo? Why was it called Obeneshimo? Obeneshimo simply means the Benin dance. And this was hosted by Gans. And it was in commemoration of their journey.
Journey, yes.
From the Great Benin Empire to their present day settlements in Nungwa. These are clear facts. But people just choose to be mischievous. And that is why I am telling my Ewe brothers and my Gan brothers to begin to ask questions. Begin to ask questions and begin to seek truth. Don't let the fact that, somebody said that history cannot be wrong. I'm like, okay, no problem. History cannot be wrong, but your forefathers were slaves in America. Was that right?
No.
Because at the point in time, slavery was legal in the United States of America.
It was very legal.
But not only in America, in the Caribbean, the whole of Caribbean, in some part of South America as well.
I think the Vice President's network has come back.
Maybe, yes. We have
Before he returns, let me quickly say this. You see, when we talk about the political issue in Nigeria,
yes,
I am of the opinion that the people we refer to as founding fathers, because Vice President mentioned about founding, whatever. You see, the people we called the founding fathers, not until we accept the father, they are not in any way founding father.
No.
We'll continue to deceive ourselves. Why did I say so? I said so because as at the time, the Southern and Northern Protectorate, in addition to the Lagos Protectorate, because at that time we have a Lagos Protectorate existing at that time already, because Lagos at that time was already a protectorate fully under the British control. But the South and the North had not been put together. So both Lagos, the Southern and Northern Protectorate were the three put together at that time.
Together, yes.
But before the British could take over Lagos in their first arrival, the Eleko of Eko then told them that he is not the owner of the land. It's on record.
Yes.
The person that commented and said history does not lie, he should also take this to be factual.
Yes.
That the Eleko of Eko said to the British that he is not the owner of Lagos, that his father, the founder of Lagos, lives in Benin, and he took them sailing across the ocean to Benin. Now, you see, when the Lagos was founded, the Oba Orogboa understood the might and the languages of the sea. Himself was a sailor. And he studied the rivers around Benin Empire at that time. You see, the Ikpoba River,
yes,
in Benin, flowed across down to Ikbe. In Ikbe, there are about 5 rivers that met there that formed a conference. And including Oriomo, they moved straight. These are the rivers floating straight to Gelegele. And they flowed first to Gelegele through what is now called the River Ethiopia,
yes.
and moved directly to the Atlantic Ocean in Lagos. So it was very easy for Oba Orogbua to sail through this point at that time. The present day Ijos, I met an Ijoman in Delta State. I will measure the community in Akugbene and Ogbeyama. Ogbeyama is where James Manager comes from, the senator representing Delta South, Ogbeyama. These are Benin migrants.
Yes.
I met a man in Akugbene, the next community to Ogbeyama. We were also there. I worked there for an oil exploration, work 10, 12 years ago. I was there. I met this elderly man, a Yoruba man, an Ijoman. He told me, he asked, where are you from? I said, I'm from Benin. He said, Benin. Do you know that we are from Benin? I said, I think I know little about it, sir. I said, yes, we are from Benin. He agreed to the fact that they are from Benin. I also met another man, an elderly man, Urobo man, in a village called Oguname. It was a camp, Oguname camp. This Oguname camp is under a kingdom in Delta, known as the Uweru Kingdom. People often refer to it as a village, Uweru. I met this man. We spoke. He also told me that, he just told me directly, said that you are my father. When he heard that at the beginning, he said, you are my father. I said, sir. No, I prostrated and said, sir, how can I be your father? There's no way I can be your father, sir. You are an elderly man. Funny enough, this man is the head of that camp. So he's the one taking control of that camp for the king in the city, because the Uweru is big. That camp is a waterside under Uweru. So this man happens to be in charge of the camp. He reports to the king of Uweru. The Uweru community I'm talking about is after Ireni. After Ireni, along Ughelli Port Harcourt Road. That is where it is. So this man also told me clearly that the Uweru community in particular, their own Urobo village, migrated from Uwelu in Benin. He told me that is why they adopted the name Uweru. He said Uweru is the same thing as Uwelu. To spell it, they only added ROH. In Benin, Uwelu is spelled as UWELU, but Uweru was spelled as UWEROH U.
Okay.
Uweru.
Okay.
He told me, he said that Uweru they bear is Uwelu in Benin. That they migrated particularly from Uwelu, where they sell motor spare parts in Benin. I said, I know it. He said that is where the Uweru people of Delta left Benin. That is why I said earlier that the migration of Benin were on intervals.
Yes.
There are various sets like the Urobos, Esans, Soko, or the various Benin descendants that migrated, never migrated on a single point. Every group that left had reasons and time. They all left. It was on the basis of intervals. Like people of Igwe, the time they left is different from the time other people left. That is how it was. So what I wanted to say that the people we refer to as founding father should not be called founding father. I will give my reason. Reason because as at the time, Nigeria the Southern and Northern Protectorate was amalgamated into what we now know as a United Nigeria. The three people we call founding father, the three major people we call founding father, who were even the eldest among every other ones we refer to today. Azikiwe was the oldest among the three. Azikiwe was 10 years old when North and Southern Protectorate was amalgamated. Azikiwe was 10 years old of age.
Because see what the British did to us.
Awolowo was, I think, 9 years. Then Samadu Bello was 6 years at that time. So how can a 10, 6 years children at that time be called founding fathers of a nation? That is an error. Nigeria should look into it.
Yes.
Stop referring to these people as founding fathers. Because a 6, 9, 10 years old individual,
Cannot
kids,
form a nation. Cannot form a nation.
A town, cannot form a home. Don't talk of a town or
a nation.
That is an error.
Mr. Secretary, these men are called founding fathers, but people like Herbert Macaulay, who was a true nationalist,
yes,
is referred to as a nationalist.
Yes.
He's left there as a nationalist. But we know in history that that is the only person that had actually used his platform to genuinely fight for the independence of the Nigerian people.
Yes.
You know, irrespective, and that is why, because he was detribalized, that was why, you know, he was able to hand over the platform to Azikiwe, who at that time was also, you know, had this movement in Ghana. He was the editor of the West African Pilots. You know, most people actually didn't know that. And he was he was actually the main person who actually mentored Kwame Nkrumah, you know, in the whole, how do I put it, independence movement thing, you know, because if you could recall, Nigeria moved the motion for independence before Ghana. Most people actually don't know that.
Yes.
And Nahoro moved the motion for independence before Ghana moved the motion for independence.
But Ghana got it
first. Yes, Ghana got it first because they were united.
Yes.
Though not all true too, because there were a certain group at that time who also didn't want, you know, the independence of Ghana. Now, Nigeria didn't get it at that time because it not clearly stated that they were not prepared.
Yes.
You understand? So there's been a lot that is hidden. And I think one of the reasons why history has been taken away from schools, it's not more a compulsory subject, is because these political actors want to deliberately keep the people ignorant.
Yes.
Because if you do not know your history, you don't know where you are coming from, you can't know where you are going to.
Exactly.
You understand? And that is deliberate action from the political class. You know, and I'm so happy we have created time to discuss these things so that we can be able to, you know, enlighten our people. And I'm not saying that our viewers and listeners should take everything we say as 100% truth. What I am saying is that everything we have said here today, take your time out and go and research.
Yes.
Research. You know, what we are here to do is to provoke you to learn, to provoke you to commit time to research, provoke you to commit a little bit of your time to history, you know, so that you can actually know where you're coming from and know where you're going to. It's as simple as that, Mr. President. So,
okay, thank you.
Yes.
So let me see if I can play this video again that make Edu proud before we close. Let me see if I can fix it.
Okay.
It's not going to function because it just off himself now. So
wow.
Which of the video is that?
the one we had Israel. Israel, you know, Israel was actually supposed to open the show for Davido.
Yeah.
You know, and he came in with the Benin traditional attire, you know, and it was a wonderful. What actually got me interested in, you know, what struck me was the way the crowd, you know, responded. Each time he said, Obaga talk by, you know, the crowd went, he said, you know, and it just tells me that a lot of our people are hungry for our history.
Maybe I think it should be on YouTube then, right?
Yeah,
it's everywhere. It's in short, it's everywhere. It actually created, you know, the thing is that most people didn't know until Cubana chief priest made a video, you know, to mock Benin.
Yes.
That none of our son don't ever step into O2 Arena before, you know, and that got the Benins really upset.
Yes.
You know, we felt it was disrespectful, you know, because the question is, which of the Igbo sons have ever stepped into?
No,
you know,
none of them.
Israel is not the first Benin son to step into O2 Arena. Rema had done that before.
I think one of our sons too must have done that.
Rema had done that before.
Yes, and there's one other guy too. This
Stoneboy has also done that before.
Yeah. But there's another guy again. I think he's based in London.
So you know, so and he is even stepping in. He that is even talking himself was a supporters club. He just attached himself to Davido's entourage.
Yes, he wanted to make himself important.
And he stepped into O2 Arena for the first time.
Yes.
And he of all days, he just chose to shade the Benin people. But he got the feedback. He got a response, a very strong one, because we will not allow people of questionable character to try to demean us.
No.
You know, and I was so happy that we had our brother Stoneboy from Ghana, who is an Eve, you know, on the stage with us there, with them, Davido there.
He was there yesterday.
Yes, Stoneboy was on stage. Davido brought Stoneboy, you know, who is also Benin, you know, so I was happy. And I was happy that Israel actually started the show.
Yes.
You know, and it gave us an opportunity to actually lecture the people that Davido is a Benin.
Yes.
Because his mother, late Dr. Veronica Imade, is our sister.
The mother is a Benin.
Yes, she's our sister. So, and Davido has never hidden his Beninness.
Yes.
He's never done that.
Even during the coronation of...
Okay, can I play it now? Maybe we could see it. I have found it on YouTube, the appearance of the...
Just try.
I will play it. I will put it on the TV screen for it to be broad.
And you see, it's an opportunity for every Benin son and daughter, wherever you are, whether you are Ghanaian, whether you are Togolese, whether you are Beninoan, as long as you are a Benin descendant, we need to begin to collaborate.
Exactly.
We need to begin to come together, whether you are a Gan, whether you are Ewe, you are Esan or Benin, or you are Eka, or Isekiri or Urobo, whatever you want to call yourself. There is a need for us to begin to collaborate. You know, Davido has set the tone, and it's now left for us to pick it up from where Davido has stopped and begin to move. Yes. You know, so hopefully we begin to see Benin cultural festivals that have Eves, that have Gans, that have Esans, Ikas, and Urobos, everybody coming together to showcase our rich cultural identity, our diversification, our diversities, you know, our diversity. You know, we should have events.
Notification bell so again, whenever I drop a new video like this. So that's too much of a time, guys. Let's get right.
Sorry, there is this heart that is disturbing.
Okay.
So I just feel Davido has set the tone. Israel made us proud. It is left for us now to take it up from where they have stopped.
Yes,
exactly. And begin to promote everything Benin. Begin to collaborate amongst ourselves, You know, we have a lot of, in Ghana here, we have a lot of wonderful sons and daughters. We have Miss V, you know, we have Stone Boy, we have Chief One, we have a lot of them. We have Kenny Eyes, we have a lot of them. Remy, you know, Remy J, we have Agbesi, we have Kush Elikem. There are a lot of them here. So we cannot say we do not have enough talent.
No, we have more than
in abundance, you know. And so what I want to see is, I want to see a collaboration between all the ethnic nationalities, you know, and Davido has proven to us that it can be done.
Yes.
One platform was dominated by Sons of Benin Empire. It shows that it can be done, you know, and I just want us to begin to see that we can do things, you know, and lift ourselves up, you know. Davido has led by example. Israel had an opportunity. He would have done his own thing, but Israel put his people first. He honored its people. Yes. And it's left for us also to honor these two young men, you know, by making sure we live up to the legacy, you know, they have bequeathed us as sons and daughters of the great Benin Empire.
Yeah. Okay, let me go. Let me show it. Let me see. I think this is the video.
Yes, this is the video.
This is it.
Yeah, Benin to the world.
Yes, Benin to the world, you know.
Benin to the British. So the Queen and the Buckingham Palace should learn from this, that they made a bloody mistake. They cannot correct.
It's just the evidence that we need,
yes,
to make the world know that the Benin spirit cannot happen.
Yes. No, most of our Black Americans, they have never read anything about the Benin history before.
No, because there's a deliberate attempt to wipe away the Benin history because of what the Benin stands for.
Yes.
Benin can stand as an inspiration.
Yes. Anything we are going to be sponsoring in this organization now, we are going to make it a priority that also in America, that our people know about it.
Yes, please. Yes.
Because this is very, very important.
Yes.
Those people that is claiming them, they should understand that we are not claiming them. They belong to us. We belong to them. So they can do whatever they want to do. The truth will always prevail.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's
time. I hope they have seen it. Though it was short,
yes, it's a very short one anyway.
Yeah, they cut it version of it. It's very nice. It has actually promoted the Benin culture.
Yes.
To the British, and I believe the Britons who will see it, we also know that a Benin monarch is truly and well respected.
Yes.
And one thing is that they have also come to see that the same in the land of the same British that came and attacked, invaded Benin 125 years ago. This in their own land now, the Benin culture, the Oba himself has also been well adored.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the respect is there and will remain. Nothing can change it. Exactly. Nothing can change it. The Benin culture is second to none.
Yes, everyone knows that. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Secretary, and thank you very much, Honorable Vice President.
If I may add one thing, sir.
Yes,
I also want to use this opportunity to invite brothers and sisters all around the world, in UK, in Europe, in America, in the Americas, in Asia, to be a part of what we are doing. We need more people. We need historians. You know, we need finance. We need people to fund a lot of the projects we are doing. We have free exercise books,
Yes.
you know, for students in Greater Accra. We are going to be producing free exercise books for students in the Volta region too. We want to see how we can help, you know, our people and teach our history. And hopefully also, as we are planning to have the Benin history come
Yes.
out in editions, you know,
Yes.
sponsored by our organization. And these books are actually going to be distributed and made available at all or in all libraries all across the world, so that our people can have access to their story,
Yes.
undiluted, you know, from our own source, not stories written by people who, you know, have no connection, you know, to our heritage.
Yes.
Please, you are free to be a part of this organization. If you love what we're doing, just signify, send us a message, DM us, you know, and you are good to go. We will add you on. You meet very wonderful people, you know, and we also give you the opportunity to promote your business, to promote your ideas on our platform. It's free.
Yes.
You know, we do this to encourage our people. We want to promote commerce, trade, business, exchange of knowledge amongst ourselves. So please be a part of what we're doing here, you know, and then help us share. Don't just watch, also help us share, you know, so that we can reach out to more people. I want to thank you all, you know, for spending your time to view our message, and thank you. God bless you, Mr. President.
Thank you too. Honorable Secretary, please, do you have anything to say again before we close?
And let me just add that in life, we pray that your enemies do not write your story.
Yes.
Otherwise, they will write to destroy one, not to write the good side of the person. I believe that is what the early historians of non-Benin who wrote about us did by trying to erase us from the factual history of our forefathers.
Yes.
But we in this generation, we have stood, waking up to correct the errors that has been written about us, and uphold the factual record that we know to be true, as it pertains to our history and cultural heritage.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, it exactly what the secretary and the vice president said. There's a parable, I don't know if I'm correct, which says, until the lion writes his history, the hunter will always continue to improve his skill, rewriting the history of the lion. So we all should come together and put hands together and rewrite our history, because we know the British did a lot of damages to us. Likewise, the Yorubas, and of recent, the Igbos. So we would like to welcome everyone to this great organization to work with us, be a part of us. So thank you, and I hope we see you people very soon. Have a blessed day, and I say good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.